we can work to alleviate it. We'll discuss its possible spatial variations across Hong Kong, its changes across time, and the various stakeholders involved. And
so today we are very lucky to have 4 guest panelists to attend this webinar and share with us their different insights. We have people in academia, in food support services and charity, and also in social innovation. And so we're very excited to have all of you here. I'll just quickly go through a quick introduction of all of you guys, and please feel free to introduce yourself a bit more. And we really look forward to hearing more about your sharing your insights in your sharing later. So first up, we have Mr. Wayne Chau, who is the founder of Agent of Change, which is a social enterprise directly working on the issue of food poverty in Hong Kong. And Wayne's work is very much driven by the fact that he grew up in poverty himself. And he currently also advises the Hong Kong government as part of the Commission on Poverty, Community Care Fund Task Force, and the Social Innovation and Entrepreneurship Development Fund Task Force. So we very much look forward to hearing your insights on this issue. We also have Professor Wong with us today. He is an associate professor of the Department of Social Work and the director of Center for Quality of Life, Hong Kong Institute for Asia Pacific Studies, and the director of UNA's Social Business Center at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. His research currently involves poverty and social security and other labor issues, and he has also advocated for the setting up of a universal pension scheme in Hong Kong, and is the vice chair of Oxfam. So loads of amazing accomplishments and working very much on the front lines of this issue. So we're also looking forward to hearing from you. We also have Ms. Law Tick, who is the Senior Service Manager of the Charity Services of the St. James Settlement, and also actively involved in the launching and organization of FoodCo, which is a pioneer project of the charity services, which directly promotes and coordinates food donations through adopting information technology. So again, very innovative, new way to address the issue of food poverty, and we also would like to hear more about that later on. Finally, we have Mr. Joel Chin, and he is the program manager at FoodLink Foundation, a local NGO working to redistribute food supplies, and is also the partner beneficiary charity of our Heart to Heart HK 2020 campaign. And so he's been working on managing the food donation program and coordinating with frontline NGOs. So let's start off this panel with some 5-minute sharings from each of our individual panelists, starting off with Professor Wong. And yeah, the stage is yours.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you here to talk about some, I would say it is quite not interesting topic, but a nasty topic. We need to talk about food poverty or food insecurity in Hong Kong, such as a foreign city. But what do we mean by food security, insecurity, and poverty? Everyone has their own definition. If you say hungry or hunger, someone knows. But food poverty means that someone lives in hunger. So we need to have some more understanding about the concept. So I used some study from other parts of the world to talk about how to define and measure food poverty and food insecurity. So what is by means of food poverty? It is the inability to acquire or consume. And so the first concept, adequate quality or sufficient quantity. So it's both concerned about the quality of food and quantity of food. And then it's in a socially acceptable way. It is not just in a nutrition sense, but in a socially acceptable way. I would say some kind of social food I will mention later. Or the uncertainty, it is not just the here and now situation. It is the future. It is the supply of food in the future that one will be able to do so. So this is the common definition of food poverty. But food poverty is not just simply caused by lack of money, but it's also concerned with other things. Lack of knowledge, skills, equipment, or how to prepare healthy foods. So we go to the next please. So for the definition of food security, it is a little bit different. This is a US definition, and then followed by the UN, the FAO. So they define food security as all people at all times have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food to meet their dietary needs and also food preference for a healthy and also active life. So it's quite positive to have what is kind of food security. In another place, if you cannot have sufficient, safe, and nutritious food for your healthy and active life, you are in some kind of food insecurity. Food insecurity may be related to different forms of deprivation, material poverty, nutrition. But in some sense, we know that this is obesity rather than nourishment in Hong Kong and other kinds of developed countries, and also socio-cultural losses. So we go to the next, please. It's about about the food poverty situation. I do some kind of study as a representative sample in Hong Kong to check about the deprivation of the food. I do it in 2012, 2014, and 2016. More or less, we find that, such as the first is about the quantity. So if they cannot take 3 meals every day, or they cannot take breakfast, because because they cannot afford it. So in 2012, about 0.5%, that is about 11,000 households. In 2016, this percentage is a little bit lower, but more or less it still have about 10,000 households. Although the percentage is small, but the total numbers of households is still, someone I would say is hungry. They do not have enough quantity of food. The second column is about, I would say, is the quality of food. So they do not have fresh fruit or vegetables. So about 0.3%, because this year we just asked about fresh fruit. In 2014 and 2016, we asked fresh fruit and vegetables. So about 1% of household, that is about 24,000 households in Hong Kong. They do not take enough fruits or vegetables every day, okay? So the third column, we go to that, do they have frozen poultry for special occasion, for example, in Chinese New Year? So this is a social food. For the social gathering, for the family, you don't have a frozen chicken. So I think this is not quite desirable in the society. So about 1.8% of our household, or 1.7 of about 43,000 household cannot afford this. So what next, please? So then we talk about the concept. I think food poverty is in the core, and the food security or insecurity is in the peripheral. You have to be insecure in food, then you become food poverty. Many of them is assessed because they cannot access a certain kind of food. So the FAO developed a food insecurity experience scales. So it is a good scale because this is based on just 8 questions about your food experience. Next, please. Next, please. So it's asked about something like this. During this 12 months, was there a time you were worried about you would not have enough food to eat because of the lack of food? Or hungry, the number 7, was there a time when you are hungry but did not eat because there was not enough money or other food? So this is, we talk about food insecurity, it is not the nutrition, but the experience, the respondents' experience. So next, please. So the FAO classified what kind of food security is into 2 thresholds. For those people, if they can reduce their quality of food, they become a moderate food insecurity. If they go beyond that, they already reduce their quantity of food. They become in the severe of food security. So it gives some kind of a fraction of a measurement of food insecurity. Say, who needs the food assistance? In my own opinion, maybe it's in the moderate, but not just the severe. Also, the FAO try to monitor the whole situation around the world, use the threshold over moderate and severe, the percentage of this as a kind of measurement of persons in food insecurity. Next, please. I think it's the end. Am I right? Yes.
Yes.
Just a concept of this. We can talk about this later on for your questions.
Thank you very much for your sharing. So, Mr. Joel Chin, please start with your 5-minute sharing.
Sorry, I think you're muted.
Hello?
Yep, we can hear
Hello?
you now.
Okay, sorry about that, about some technical problems. May I thank you the hosting for this campaign again, because this campaign would help FoodLink, and also more importantly would help also the people in need in Hong Kong. So can I having a few minutes to to tell you or introduce what is FoodLink? Actually, we are a Hong Kong registered NGOs, not only concerned about the food issues and also concerning about the food wastage in Hong Kong. We are incorporated in the year of 2009. There is a mistake. I'm sorry, and registered as a charity in 2010. As I said before, we are not concerning about the poverty issues. We also helping to reduce the issues of food wastage in Hong Kong. So can you imagine there is more than 3,300 tons of food wastage are disposed into the landfills every day? This is a figures of every day the food goes to the landfills. At the same time, all 3 remaining landfills in Hong Kong will soon be fully utilized. So there is a huge number of food wastage, and at the same time, the number of poverty issues in Hong Kong is quite serious. Just you might see these photos. Just a family of 3. Their living room is just so tight with these tiny spaces. So according to the Hong Kong government reports, 1 in 6 of the kids they are living in poverty. The poverty issues even more serious in the group of the elderly. 1 in 3 of them they are living in poverty. And so that's why FoodLink's here trying to help the people in need and also trying to reduce to the food wastage problem. There is a very quick key milestones of our operations. So before the COVID-19, we are collecting more than 13 tons of food per week, and also we're providing 31,000 of meals per week. This number is the beginning of this year before the COVID-19, and after the COVID-19 outbreak in Hong Kong, we actually cut off most of our food collection programs, and so maybe we just move on to how we operate first. So here is some very simple models of how we work. We are as a bridge to connect the food donors and the charities, and of course to the people in need. We are collecting all the safe to eat service food from our hotels or F&B outlets in Hong Kong. Through our networks, through our logistic support, these food could put into the charities, so the people in need could go to our charities partners to get the service and also to get these service food. We are now having 7 vans. Our vans are also equipped with fridges. And besides, our drivers have also get the food hygiene manager certificates, which to ensure our driver to to how to manage the hot food and also to monitor how our food collections in the front line. Before the COVID-19, all our 7 vans go through all around Hong Kong, not only the Hong Kong side, Kowloon side, but also with the Lantau Island side. So here is our main 4 programs with these pictures you could see next, please. Oh, this one, thank you. And we are running 4 programs with these small, tiny kitchens plus FoodLink office. Here are FoodLink, the hot food collections, bread collections, product donations, and also the banquet donations. Because we're collecting the hot food, that's why I said before our van will be equipped with fridges, and also we also have different guidelines to our different partners, no matter with the donor side or with the charity sides. All of our partners need to sign the disclaimers to make sure they understand our safety hygiene guidelines. All our food will deliver to our partnering organizations within an hour, and we will having visits to our partners to make sure they could handle all these hot food collections and distributions. What we are collecting right now, you may see all these meat, grains, vegetables, fruits that these things that you might see in the buffet tables that we are collecting right now, or maybe collecting before the COVID-19, but some of them which might not be able for us to get because there are perishable items with high food hygiene risks, such as the raw meats, the sashimis, etc., etc. So again, here is just a recap of what we are doing before the COVID-19. We collected more than 500 tons of the food, serving more than 1 million meals per year. So besides the hot food programs, we are also connecting with different bakery chain store for the service bread collections. And we are arranging volunteers to get all these bread from the chain stores. And besides the bread, we also collecting different product donations, such as the canned food, the milk, or some festive food. Especially, we are coming with the Mid-Autumn Festival with some more mooncakes will be coming. And so let's jump a little bit faster because a little bit overrun. So we are collecting with more than 100 partners. They are donating the hot foods and also with the bread, etc., etc. We are having different kinds of recipients, not only with the low-income families, but also with the elderly, asylum seekers, and also people with different disabilities. So as I said before, because due to the COVID-19, lots of our programs have been suspended. Especially, we are collecting around 5 to 10% of food collections before comparing with last year's. Luckily, we getting different supports from all different partners, especially through these campaigns. We are able to provide different dry food packs with all some cash coupons to the people in need. We are doing right now during under the situations of COVID-19. So if you have some more comments or some others questions, feel free to let us know and by connecting us to our last pages. The next one, please. Yes. Okay, yeah, yes, this one. So feel free to get us connected through Facebook, IG, YouTube, and just WhatsApp us. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much for your sharing. So next we have Mr. Wayne Chau.
Hi everyone, this is Wing Chau, founder of Agent of Change Hong Kong. So we have actually 2 entities. One of it is a social enterprise to provide some high quality daily goods at a very affordable price to the poor people in Hong Kong. So another one is a charity to support those who are in need of the some say food support and whatever daily goods support, etc. So during the COVID-19, actually we have distributed over 250 50,000 kind of COVID-19 anti-pandemic packs to the poor people in Hong Kong. So before that, let's go through to have a big picture of the poverty situation in Hong Kong. So again, this is the poverty situation report issued by the Hong Kong government. So as you can see, pre-intervention, the poverty rate is very high. 1 out of 5 of Hong Kong people are under the poverty line. So this is really really bad situation. So for kids, it's 1 out of 4. So as a member of the Commission on Poverty, and I've been advocating a lot in the committee and outside of committee to push the Hong Kong government to do a little bit more and do a little bit faster. So let's have a look on the Gini coefficient. That's about, so before that, that's about the poverty situation. Now this is about the Gini coefficient. That's the gap between the poor and the rich. Hong Kong is not always #1 in the world in all aspects, but in the Gini coefficient index. So this one, we are always #1 in all developed economies. So always #1 for decades. Okay, so this is really, if I remember correctly, it's number 11 in all economies. So for the top 10, they're very poor countries, third world countries in the world. Okay, so let's see this, have a closer look into the situation the poor people are facing. You have, okay, in this photo, this is these 2 photos are owned by Xiao-ke. So in this photo, you can have a look on the kids who are living in the subdivided cribs. So it's a really bad situation in Hong Kong. They have to do their homework on their bed. No any workstation for them, no any desks for them at all. And the second photo, you can see that the man is eating the canned food. So next page, thank you. Next slide. Yeah, eating the canned food. So actually, it's from somehow from some food banks, but the food bank situation, the food bank is not really solve all the problems in Hong Kong on the food subsidy by the government. So because they can only provide some short-term support here. So actually, I as a person who was living in similar situation when I was a kid, so I fully understand the situation in Hong Kong about the poverty and how the poverty would bring a negative impact to a person. So what we need to do is not only to provide money or food, but we need to bring some dignity and hope to the poor in order to let them break through what they need to go through. So the situation is that how to do this, we have to empower them with to have them to be confident, to have the courage to go through such a bad situation. So this is one very important mentally situation need to break out. And another 2 C's we are talking about is the chances and choices to some quality daily goods and food. So it's very important that we have to give them the chances to access to the high quality daily necessities, which is the middle class or the richer people they can use as well. So this is very important, and this is what Agent of Change has been doing in Hong Kong. So we have to offer the choices to them, and finally lead to the change, of course. So yeah, what we are doing, what we have been doing is to provide some high daily to the poor people in Hong Kong at a very affordable prices. So, and up till now, we have served over 600,000 people in Hong Kong. During the COVID-19, we also provide some food support as well, and also some anti-pandemic packs. So we recently, this week, we distributed over 50,000 meals from a food from a restaurant chain in Hong Kong. So what we are not an expert in doing some food aid, but we are pretty good doing some campaigns and bringing different sponsors together, different people who would like to make some positive changes through some social support. So what we are going to set up something new to support support the restaurant at the same time to support those who are in need of food. So I know most of you are students. So remember one thing is that if you want to make some change, don't just make some change. You have to be the change you wish to see in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wayne, for these inspiring words. So next we have Ms. Tik Law, who will be our last speaker for this individual sharing session.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tik, Senior Service Manager of Charity Services of St. James Settlement. Thank you for having me here tonight. And I would like to share a little bit about our FoodCo project. St. James Settlement launched this flagship project in November 2017. By that time, we knew that there is a huge food wasting problem. Over 1.2 million of food is wasted every year. But in the meantime, about 1 million Hong Kong people is living below the poverty line. So, but in the meantime, there are some food donation programs in the social service sector. Why do we introduce this FoodCo project? Because we can see some service gaps. Because some donors, they would not prefer to donate food to some small sectors or some small organization because they are not sure about the liability or who will be responsible for the whole donation process. And for the large scale organization, they can always receive food donation, while for the small organization, they seldom receive food donation. So we introduced FoodCo, and this is the first IT platform for food support service in Hong Kong. We want to adopt technology in the project so that we can facilitate the food donation in a more effective and efficient way. There are 5 main core services of our project. The first one is we introduce the social impact assessment in our project. We want to know what kind of impact does our project bring to the society. And the second one is to provide the end-to-end logistics. The third one is we organize many volunteer services for both donors and the service operators. The fourth one is we provide digital meal coupons to the needies. And the fifth one is we organize many corporate campaigns so that different stakeholders can be involved in the project to provide service to the needies. And now I would like to tell you some features and some advantages of our project because we adopt the technology in the project. This is a platform for the donor and for the service operators to communicate online. Our workflow is very clean and easy to manage, easy to access. For the donors and service operators, they can just go onto our platform and input the data, and they can share the information in our platform, and then they can contact us for collecting food donation. It's a very it's a one-stop service, and we collect all the data at our backend management system, and then we analyze all the data by using the technology. And one of our aims of the project is to reduce footprint. For example, if we collect food from outside Quark, and then we would like to reduce the CO2 by calculating which point we should be delivered to the service operators. Maybe deliver to 19 is more CO2 saving than deliver to central. Next, please. In the old days, we have to use about 2 to 3 weeks to handle the donation. But now, with this platform, we save a lot of time. We just need about 1 to 2 days to process and then to donate the food to the needies. As I said, this platform is easy to manage and easy to access. So for the both donors and service operators, they can talk, they can discuss, they can communicate in our platform so that the messages won't be missed and won't we prevent from any miscommunication in our platform. We want to involve as many as different stakeholders in our project. So we introduce many different service opportunities for the corporates, for the schools, and for different stakeholders. They can participate in our volunteer services to handle the food donation or to deliver direct service to the needies as well. So yeah, you can see some of our pictures now. These are our program photos. So far, we received donation from 620 corporate companies, and we have about 300, almost 300 service operators so far. And most of them are very big corporations. Next, please. And at this moment, we rescued, last one, please. Sorry, the previous one, I mean, the previous one, thank you. We have rescued over 914 tons of food. And through our platform, we have over 5,800 transactions. And the food value is over 76 million. And we serve over 2.3 million people. Okay, thank you. And next one. And these are our media exposure so far. We receive a lot of credits, and because it can really match the needs from both donors and to our service operators. So yes, this the media exposure we have. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank
you very much to all the panelists for your individual sharings. It was extremely interesting to hear all of your to hear from all of you. So the first question, we kick it off with a reference to COVID-19, which is obviously why this whole thing happened, which is why this webinar is online as well. So here's a question to the entire panel: what would you describe the impact of COVID-19 to be on food poverty? Would each of the panelists like to respond in speaking order?
I would like to say, because it's the COVID-19 negative impact to the whole economic situation, to create very high unemployment and underemployment. So the take-home pay of many working poor families has been decreased quite a lot. And for them, for the housing cost, they cannot squeeze it because they need to pay the rent. And also the rent have not been lower although the economic situations has been downturned. So they squeeze on their food budget. More or less, they will be lower the quality of food. We know that many elderly do just go to the wet market just before the closing of the market to pick up some rotten vegetables or buy some very low quality fish to survive. But now it is not just the elderly, maybe many of this kind of ethnic minorities, families, new arrivals families, and those unemployed workers, they need to also join in this queue to buy cheaper food. So they still can find food, but they need to sacrifice the quality of them to be survived. Or many of them is now need to, under this kind of food assistance scheme, to have just enough food to survive, and also enough quality of food, because they can't find vegetables and fruit that I showed earlier, because this is not affordable to them as such. So I think, and in many of this kind of food assistance scheme, still vegetables and fruit are not very common.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, I share the views from Professor Wong. Actually, the people living in poverty, they still would have great demands of nutritious food, especially during the COVID-19, and it poses some unpredictable economic outlooks. So that would brings out more and more people. They would trying to find some more food assistance services. I'm taking the perspective from FoodLink, and we got some more inquiries about getting our food services. And no matter they are still okay before the COVID-19, but under this COVID-19, they might having different worries, or even they will be losing their jobs. They don't have enough incomes to sustain their lives. That's why they need to ask for helps.
So this is me. So we actually did an informal interview and a survey with especially low-income workers in Hong Kong, and we found that most of them would choose not to eat or eat, eat just cut a meal to in the situation that they're earning less. So this situation is very worrying. So as a social enterprise, what we think is not to directly provide some food assistance to them, and it's not easy for them, because they're working population. So they have to normally they have to to work until very late, and after during their working hours, it's unlikely that they can go to some food assistance NGOs like FoodLink or other food NGOs to get some food. So instead, they have to eat outside or take their lunch box or dinner box. So what we are thinking is that to collaborate with some restaurants and to provide a platform which the restaurants can provide some discount to them. So while at the same time, this is a win-win situation. It's something like creating shared value for both of the both parties. So they can get their sufficient food at a lower price. At the same time, the restaurant can at least sustain. Maybe they're not earning, but they're getting a little bit more business from this collaboration. So this is what we are thinking, and under So up till now, we have distributed, served around 5,000 people, low-income workers in Hong Kong. So we are exploring more and more. So, but we have to learn from FoodLink and FoodCo as well.
Our panelists have mentioned a lot of problems, but I just want to point out one thing. During the COVID-19, the poor family, they cannot support good, healthy food. And our donors, they prefer to donate a lot of canned food to the needies because it's easier to handle and cheap, but they are not very healthy, right? So we introduced some programs for the needy to receive fresh food pack so that they can keep the nutrition in the meantime, not having only canned food. And we also help them to get them digital meal coupons so that they can purchase food in the restaurant and enjoy hot meal.
Great, thank you for all the insights on that aspect of COVID-19. And like, yeah, definitely it's a very difficult time to provide food support, and like there's obviously so much need. The final question from us, the co-host for the panel, is going to be more about the solutions for food poverty alleviation. So earlier in all your sharings, you mentioned there's this issue of like the misallocation of resources, this issue of access of food, but also, you know, the provision and like issues of food waste, for example. So the question is, currently in the food poverty alleviation supporting service, what is the greatest challenge that this whole sector is facing right now? And yeah, like it's a bit of a big question, so feel free to break it down into maybe the different areas that you are working in. So for example, in like from a social enterprise perspective and from a charity perspective, yeah, open to any of the panelists who want to share.
So let me start first again, because I would like to find that the root cause of the poverty itself is poverty and deprivation in Hong Kong. So in Hong Kong, we already have a social security system. We have the comprehensive social security system that we call the CSSA 中文. So if you are poor, you can be supported by the CSSA. And the CSSA should be provide enough money for you to buy food. So from the government rules of thought, if you got CSSA, you will not fall in food poverty. You should have enough money to buy food. But I'm afraid it is not the case. In theory, this kind of food assistance scheme cannot support the CSSA recipients. But I know in realities, many of the CSSA recipients also receive food assistance scheme. Else, they could not have enough food. So it is so the problem of the social security scheme, because we haven't have a evaluation study. Do the CSSA income is enough for the family to support themselves and the family members for a quote-unquote socially desirable minimal budget? The last exercise the government do for the basic need budget is in 1996. This is the one and also the only one event they do perform this exercise to check the budget, if the CSSA budget enough or not. After that, they just increase the CSS amount according to the inflation rate of the basket of food and other kind of goods of the CSSA recipients. But it is not enough. We know that many of the CSSA recipients use their own money, okay, to support their housing, because the housing cost is so high. They cannot receive enough money from the CSSA allowance. So they need to, I would say, they take the food money over to support the housing. So they cannot enough. So if we can improve the CSSA system, I think most of this kind of poor people are receiving them. So they do not need a food assistance scheme as such as in a foreign city. So we need that kind of a large social policy to change the situation. Thanks.
So I echo Professor's point of view. So one thing to add is that sometimes when the government would like to do something, they have to be very effective and efficient. Yeah, this is a very big challenge for the government, that every time when they want to say for this time COVID-19, they would like to distribute some money to those who are not under their subsidy system. They have to distribute the money, but they need to do a public tender for the IT system, and that takes 6 months and another 3 months to make the everything, so user acceptance test and a distribution registration and so on and so forth. So normally it takes like 9 months to distribute something. They are in hunger. The people are really in need of this, especially under COVID-19, the special situation. So one point is that we need to drive the public policy and public efficiency, the change of this. So yeah, I keep pushing in the Commission on Poverty and in other community care fund and so on and so forth. So, but yeah, I believe that they improve a little bit, and I cannot disclose too much, but I would say they improve a little bit, but are still inefficient, too little, and a little bit late. Okay, so other than this, the government efficiency issue, another part is how the companies, the business sector could collaborate with the NGO or use their efficiency, effective business model to help those people in need. Just as I mentioned before, is that we are thinking about what if, say, those Uber Eats or Foodpanda, what if this kind of food delivery system who can collaborate together to support those low-income workers? What if those restaurants who can issue some coupons, meal coupons, digital meal coupons systems, and to help them and also help the restaurants? It's not only we need to think about from the charity way, we need to also think about the win-win situation, the creating shared value situation, how to make everyone a win-win. So, and recover quickly and more effectively.
Great, thank
Yes.
you. Yes.
Oh, sorry, I just want to add a little bit few words about these issues. I guess we have to emphasize more about is the nutritious food regarding to the food security. Because apart from the government or from the different food donors side, they are willing to spend, or they're willing to donate different kinds of food, but they are not so concerned about the nutritious food. They just pass some canned food, instant noodles, because it's easy to handle for them. But actually for the people in need, especially they are living in poverty, when they have kids or elderly, the nutritious way is quite important for them. So in the role of FoodLink, we are trying to figure it out how we could use our existing resources to give the people in need with some more nutritious food. Maybe we are exploring some kind of the meal packs, just like also the meal coupons. Maybe we are also working quite similar with FoodCo with these issues. We're trying to pushing these issues to get more concerned about in the side of the donors.
Joe just mentioned about food security. We have also shared the same concern, because we want to save more food and we want to collect more food donation from the donors. But sometimes we have the problems that about the problem of due day, the expiry day, and the issue of best before or best by. And we need to educate the public that the concept of best before and best by. These are food that which is good to use, to consume, but maybe they are afraid of, is it good to take the food? Or for the donors, they were worried about, do I have to take the liability to donate the food, which is maybe they think is overdue. So in order to balance that, we need to educate the public about this concept. But in the meantime, we concern our liability as well. So a few years ago, we have advocate about the Bill Emerson Good Samaritan Donation Act. We hope that we urge the government to pass the act like what USA have done, so that we, for our the service organization like us, we can do a lot more on the food poverty.
Great, thank you. So that's all the questions that we'll have for you from us. And we now like to open the floor up to have our audience also ask some questions. So if you would like to ask a question, please click the raise hand function on Zoom. Let us know if you have any issues with that. If you do, please also feel free to just type it out in the chat box. And yeah, Jocelyn and I will select some questions to be asked.
All right. Would Juliet like to pose a question? You can
Yeah, of course. Hi. I was just wondering what fiscal measures can be introduced in order to reduce or even eliminate food waste. Thank you.
So the question is, what could be done to eliminate food waste? Would any of the panelists like to address this, please? Thank you.
I think it's specifically what fiscal measures.
Yep.
So I would like to talk about a little bit about the food waste and the behavior of the youngster adolescents. So the problem is now that we have produced many food, and we have food, for example, is eating meat as our usual diet. So we consume quite a lot of this carbon footprint. But many of this food become waste. We cannot finish all the meal on the dishes, and especially in the school, in the lunch box. Many of them just finish half or just one third of the food. So I think it is quite important for us to think about this kind of food poverty is not just in Hong Kong. This kind of food poverty is around the world. So if the world is now, it can produce enough food to make all the population around the world not hungry. But the distribution of the food is not equal. Many of the food is concentrated in this kind of developed world. So as part of the developed world, we need to have more efficient use of food rather than waste of it, and also create other kind of environmental problem. So I think this is a duty of us as a youngster to promote this kind of eat all your food, but don't waste food, and that it become part of the movement to support the SDG, Sustainable Development Goal, to fight poverty and to end hunger, not just in Hong Kong, but it is really important to the hungry peoples in Africa, in Southern Asia. I think we can help by doing this.
I guess apart from the personal side, actually, we are encouraging the ideas or the concept of sharing. Just when you have different wastage or potential food wastage, just share these with your friends, with your neighbors. That would be an important things that would reduce the food wastage at a very personal behavior level. And more importantly, we just trying to urge the more corporates to donate their close to expiry food, and maybe at that time the government could try to have to make some more recommendations or even regulations, just like the French government. I guess maybe they have passed the law in the year of 2018 to just to state all the supermarket, they need to donate all these close to expiry food to the food banks. I guess these would be efficient ways to reduce all the food wastage. But of course, at this moment in Hong Kong, that seems to be a little bit far from us. But we're trying to do, at least we could try to share. Just trying to do a little bit more, share among yourselves, share with your friends, or yes.
Thank you very much for your responses. I also got a question from an audience member, and I'll read it out. It reads, if there is a problem with people donating canned food, which is unhealthy, isn't it smarter to ask for money instead, so that so that NGOs like FoodLink or different charities know how to use the money properly to buy nutritious food, I guess. Thank you.
Wow. Actually, in the cases of Hong Kong, it would be quite difficult to strike a balance in between the nutritious food and also the problem of the food poverty, because I guess all of the audiences have been seen the living situations of the income level of the people in need. They just living a very tiny spaces. They don't have a large rooms, large kitchens. Especially under the COVID-19, they might not be able to go outside very frequently. So that's why there is a importance of this canned food, which is kind of not that nutritious food, but they do have that kind of symbolic meaning. No, kind of useful food for them. Especially they don't need to spend so many time or so many space to make a good and nutritious lunch. Yes.
When we think about how to encourage donors to save more food and donate more food to the needy, we try to think in their shoes. Imagine that if you were the donors from a big company, you would prefer to donate the food at once in a very large amount to one single service operators, right? And you don't want to increase your administration cost. So for us, for Food Code, we would accept the donation and try to divide the donations to different many small NGOs rather than one single recipients. And also we provide logistic assistance to help them reduce their administrative costs. So that's what we are doing now to encourage more and more donations, other than to throw away the food into the rubbish bin.
Thank you. A final question. David had his hand raised. I saw.
Yeah, hi, excuse me. I was really just wondering, from the UK, what sort of help is, how can one volunteer to help with this particular cause? For instance, I've been volunteering here in the UK for the last couple of years, and I was wondering if there was a volunteer network that one could join to help any one of the panel members. I presume I could look at your websites and find out how email you directly, perhaps.
As far as I know, that as many church organizations do have their own volunteer to do some kind of this kind of food collection and also food distribution of work. And many others of the volunteers in the NGOs in the service sector, like the St. James Settlement, they will also join in this kind of food collection and distribution work. But I will say that that kind of volunteerism is not so extensive as I see in, for example, in US or in Britain. I think we need to use more of this kind of volunteer in the community, especially in the distributing network, to make more accessible to those households or the poor in need. They are not visible, they are not known to the service agency, but they may be known by the neighbors or by other things. So to become more penetrated into the community, we need this kind of volunteer network.
I see. Okay,
And
thank
I
you.
think that in Hong Kong, actually, we need some wisdoms from UK as well. So say you have lots of very good social enterprise who are working on food waste or this kind of assistance program. So probably you can volunteer to offer or link some like kitchens or some social enterprise or NGOs who are running food assistant work and who are running some very good models, so we can learn from them. So this is how you can contribute your wisdom and your linkage, your network as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very
Would I contact you via your email address from these slides? Well, maybe a question to the host. The host, would these slides be made available after the call has finished?
Yep. You can contact us via our email address, and we'll clarify with regards to whether the host whether our panelists will be willing to have their contact details given to you and so on and so forth. But that we can settle after the webinar. But thank you very much for your interest.
Excellent, thank you. Question answered, thank you.
So we have two final questions. One, both of them. So we're hoping to keep responses as short as is possible from the panelists. First question, as some people think donating food is troublesome, they are often unwilling to become food donors. How can this mindset of people be changed?
Well, I guess it would take a long time for doing such educations. Actually, for the individual level, by donating food is not that difficult or complicated as expected. Just try to sort out all the food storage every week to see there is any other things would be going to be expired, and just to donate these close to expiry food. Just keep this as a practice every week. That in a long time that would have it would it would being a normal practice to do the food donations.
Any other panelists? A quick response.
I would say that not doing the food donation as a charity. You just not share those food you donate to the poor. I don't think it is the sense of the in a civil society. We need to do that in Hong Kong as a foreign city. I would say more the attitude is a sharing, because you share those food you like, or in the old time in the community, the oldest will share tobacco and some kind of things. They treasure it because they make it very good and they want to share with the neighbors. I do think that we have the Chinese have a tradition to share food with others, so it is not clumsy. But now I think in many kind of situation for the working force, when they live in the partition room, it is very hard for them to prepare meals, very hard to cook more than themselves. So it is not a very feasible way for them to share food. But in that sense, there is some new models that is about like a community kitchen. So they can cook in a community kitchen and they can share food among themselves. So they can cook the delicious dishes and then they can share. So it is not provided by the service provider. It is a mutual help service provided by the poor people themselves. But they need that kind of space, meeting point, kitchens, something like that, because space in Hong Kong is a problem for them, it's the bottleneck. They cannot share food because they do not have the place to cook it and also to share it. If we can solve that problem, I think many Chinese people do want to cook and want to share their food with their fellows. Okay.
Actually, this is a challenge as well, because I advocated that the government should allow people to cook, say in public housing. They can just pay them a little bit and let them cook for the elderly nearby and something like that. But it's somehow illegal to cook even for friends. And actually the cost is actually say 20 to 30%, 20 to 30% of the, if they want, they have to cook in a food center and a central kitchen and a deliver, so on and so forth. Yeah, but and I mentioned about the daily necessities, which is even canned food, rice and noodles and so on. Whether it's possible to distribute through this network, but no, definitely no by the government. So hopefully we can have some, passionate leaders, government leaders to think about this and make some really breakthrough on this.
If we want to encourage, if we want to encourage them to donate more, I think we should provide a user-friendly method, a way for them to do it. That's why we have FoodLink platform. It's a user-friendly platform. It's easy to use, easy to access. So it's not difficult procedure for them. And on the other hand, I think it's always good to let them to feel it, to experience it by joining our volunteer programs or some other promotional programs, so that they can visualize, they can feel what is it exactly, and let them to connect with the needy, so that they know how important is food donation to the needy.
All right, thank you very much. So given that it's already been 15 minutes after 9, I think we will end the panel discussion here. Thank you very much to everyone for attending. And we hope, and we also like to tell everyone that our campaign actually ends in 2 days. The webinar is kind of 2 days right before the conclusion of the fundraiser. So there is still time to go on and donate to our campaign and post a picture of nice food with a heart to support the cause of food poverty. Thank you very much to all the panelists today for taking the time and the energy, and thank you for everything that you're doing to work for food poverty in Hong Kong. So we hope that everyone found this session rewarding and had gained insights from it, and we wish you a lovely evening. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to add one final thing, which is that this is only really the beginning. We're hoping that this webinar will launch, especially for all you young people who are listening, will change the way you think about food poverty. And we're also, as we're ending this campaign, thinking about longer and more sustainable ways to do advocacy and for young people to get more involved in this issue in Hong Kong. So please email us, get in touch with us if you're interested in kind of looking at how we can build on this campaign to think about longer term solutions. We are also thinking about that ourselves, and we would love to get in touch with you guys as well. Yeah. Thank you everyone again for taking time out on your Friday evening, and have a great weekend ahead. Yeah.